Hi, it's Tara. Today I'm talking about what resiliency is not. We talk a lot about what it is, but there's a few coping skills that I see with a lot of professionals, a lot of entrepreneurs that have helped them get through things and be really successful, but they're not really indicators of resilience. I think we get confused sometimes thinking that surviving things, coming out the other end is the hallmark of resiliency. It's the hallmark of survival, but it's not really a resilient, balanced, regulated nervous system. And so often these coping mechanisms have helped people become really successful. They've used them in their businesses, but they're not helping them in their long-term sense of being healthy and feeling joy in their life, and they won't be able to continue to producing at the level that they have been if they continue using these. So it's great that you've been through things and that you've survived, but how is your nervous system doing? How is it for you when you go to sleep? What is it like when you wake up? Are you experiencing symptoms of anxiety even though you're not currently going through anything really upsetting or overwhelming? Often we start to see symptoms after we've used long-term mechanisms to cope that have not been healthy. The nervous system always knows, and it will always seek to find balance, but it will always let you know when things are out of balance also. So these three areas are the ones I see most commonly in my practice, and there's a lot of them. We will basically use whatever tools are available to us to get through difficult, overwhelming times, as every human will, as a survival mechanism, and they're not all the best, so it's important to really start learning where you can make changes in your own patterns, because we all live in these patterns of behavior. So the first one is pushing through. This is one that people wear like a badge of honor. They just buckled down when the going got rough, they got tougher, and they just pushed through and blasted through stuff. Often that means that they've shut their emotions down, that they've not allowed themselves to experience any range of emotional or mental distress because they just simply had to suck it in and push through. This will come out later down the road in terms of psychosomatic symptoms. You might have the anxiety that comes up with it, but you might just have an increase in headaches. You might start getting migraines, gastrointestinal problems, insomnia, chronic pain, fibromyalgia. We see these conditions arise from people that have this personality of just being able to suck it up and push through. So that hard love approach, that tough guy approach, really unhealthy for the nervous system. It does help you get through things. It is not a foundation of health. It is not a trademark of resiliency at all. The second thing that I see a lot of is black and white thinking. People really struggling to keep things in compartments and boxes that they can understand. It's a coping mechanism that gives them a sense of having control when things in their life have been out of control. So everything has to go in a compartment or a box, and there's no sense of flexibility. We call this mental inflexibility, when people are not able to tolerate gray zones, colors of the rainbow, ambiguity, uncertainty, which most of life is. Often this will show up in people in their relationships, because relationships are not black and white. People aren't black and white. And you have to have that sense of tolerance and flexibility and acceptance for others, even as you struggle to control your own life. So this black and white thinking, which people will just say is a personality trait that they can't change, absolutely not true. You can change anything. Your brain can change and is changing at all times. So you can modify this. You can start increasing your level of mental flexibility and being able to see what it's like to explore relationships and situations that you can't control, where you have to be accepting of diversity and difference and ambiguity. It's a really tough one for people, because this is the way that they've made sense of their world. It's either this way or it's this way. None of life is that way. By doing that, you exclude a lot of experience and a lot of the joy that will come with those experiences. Really unhealthy practice to have black or white, where there's no room for anything in between. Your relationships are really going to suffer from this kind of thinking also. The last one I want to talk about are really the control freaks. It's another branch of control, where they talk a lot about being able to control their emotions, and how that's really the source of health, is being able to control your emotions. It's kind of a load of crap, because if your nervous system is regulated, if you can manage activation in your life, in your nervous system, come back down to baseline, you don't have to control any of those emotions. They can show up, they can flow through, you can experience them without getting stuck in them or overwhelmed in them. They are not disproportionate to the event or the experience that you're having. They come and they go, and you come back down to baseline without having to put so much thought and effort into it. Controlling your emotions is really saying, I'm not in control of my emotions, and I'm struggling to find ways to not feel maybe at all. So being dissociated or disconnected from emotion is not the same as controlling them. Avoiding negative experiences or emotions because you can't tolerate it means you're dysregulated. These three areas are really about finding ways to control when you feel out of control. They aren't healthy. Real resiliency is being able to tolerate all states of expression and emotion proportionate to the event, not getting stuck in extremes, not being reactive in behavior, and being able to come back down to a grounded baseline of health and well-being and centeredness. We do this with SRT, self-regulation therapy. You might need to address some of these patterns in your own life. We'll talk about it more. Until next time, I hope you're well.